Um, it is more authentic. Right, let's speak a bit about Khabib. I had mentioned we're going to speak about Khabib. He's doing it. Right, that's it. His surname, I always struggle with his surname. Right. So, I'm not particularly into watching many sports, but he is more than a sportsman. Khabib is a phenomenon. And I say this because, you see, Muslims in this day and age, because we're kind of downtrodden, Muslims feel that they need, whether they do need or not is questionable, but they feel they need a hero. And here comes a person who's not, an archetype of your average Muslim who is assumed to be brown and from the Middle East or from India or, black, this is the archetype, this is your typical perception of a Muslim. He's somebody from Russia, that kind of, you don't really picture to be Muslim. And then he comes along and somebody said his actual name is Khabib Nurmagomedov. Is it? Okay. Wow. Okay, that his surname is Nurmagomedov. Okay, I didn't know that. I just knew it how it is said. I knew that Habib was Habib. I knew that, yes, but not the Nurmagomedov part. So here comes this person, and he is absolutely amazing at what he does. As somebody who's not even into the sport, as in watching, I don't watch. I just don't find. I don't seem to. I'm weird like that. I don't seem to have an interest in watching sport of any nature. I just don't find it interesting. Now, I'll watch highlights of boxing matches if they're popular or highlights of UFC, but I'm not interested in following it. So, but he is an absolute, a master practitioner of his art. I mean, the guy he's a beast. He's ruthless. I mean, you just think, wow, okay. I watched the highlights of his recent fight, and he just, wow, the other guy, Gaethje or whatever his name is, who was apparently meant to be somebody epic, and yet he just, he second round, it's over. But what I want, what I'm more intrigued by is the phenomenon. You see, because what he does is he proudly wears his Islam. So he'll say Alhamdulillah, Insha'Allah, and I thanks to Allah, and these things obviously in an age where Islam is downtrodden, in an age of Islamophobia, these things give immense they bring relief, I guess, to many Muslims. And I think that part is understandable. And it is, wow, it is very, a person they can identify with it. And that too, you're for once identifying with the world champion who's undefeated, and I don't, he's not a very big person when you think about it. He's not somebody like physically such a beast. I'm sure he's been up against people much, bigger, although they're the same weight division, but bigger than him. But yet he's this undefeated beast of a fighter. But yeah, I feel that he is a phenomenon because he kind of represents that. He gives pride to people who are Muslim, and he's resigned, undefeated. Although he says, well, the reason is because he's promised his mother and he's true to his word, and I think some people kind of found that amusing. And yeah, I mean, I don't know, maybe it's just because he's beat everybody in his division and he thinks, well, what the hell. But yeah, I think that's something to people find as, they find some solace in that. And there's nothing wrong with that, because Muslims, everywhere you see them, they're beaten. And here is a person who's a legend, and he holds the title, and he is a Muslim, and he proudly says, he says, I know this upsets you, but I'll say it, Alhamdulillah. So yeah, I absolutely, I rate that he's very confident about his faith. But even being Russian, being confident about your faith, because one must remember that Russia probably gives much less rights to being Muslim as the West does. You can openly be a Muslim here, but in Russia, you could be seen as a traitor. And I think the fact that he, despite that, he openly wears his Islam is very admirable. So I do admire him. I think he's amazing in that sense. It's funny as well, because his accent makes him much funnier than he's trying to be. He's not trying to be funny, but his accent makes him funny. It's like when he jumped over the cage, and he's like, and I'm pretty sure he got into trouble for that. But he's like, and then he gives a press conference, which is just after that, and he's like, why everybody still talk about me jumping over cage? Why everybody, he attacked bus? Why you still talking about that? And you're thinking, well, because it just happened, mate. But I think the accent makes it much funnier. And I think with the whole thing of McGregor, I think he just took it way too personal, Khabib. I think that McGregor was just doing it because he's just creating a hype. That's what you got to do for showbiz. And I think the thing about McGregor is that he's just really witty. And I think most people are not witty anyway. You take most people, they're not actually very witty on the spot. And then you get people who are fighters, and I think they're generally a bit slower than your average kind of person. You get this kind of archetype, I suppose, of, somebody who's just a fighter. And even if they weren't, they were just normal, McGregor seems to be incredibly witty. So it's difficult having comebacks. Anything you say will immediately spin it. And obviously he brought that whole kind of that clout to this UFC. He did that whole thing, I suppose, what Muhammad Ali did, except added all the swearing and the insults and teasing people and really making them get angry. And I think that's what he did to Khabib. But Khabib obviously took it as, that Bollywood dushmani. Dushman. Dushman hai dushman. 20 years later, I'll get you back. So, yeah. But cool, I wanted to say some words about that, because he has unquestionably become a hero. And I think that he is a legend, I have to say. I've watched some of his fighting thing, and I thought, whoa, this guy he's he's a beast. So yeah. Cool. Let's somebody said he'll become a fighter for the Chechen. I don't know about that. I think that would just ruin his image. Right, so yeah, somebody said it sells, Mufti. It does. That's what the thing is, because it sells. What McGregor did is he sold the industry. He just gave the industry a hype. Right, let's move on.